do a welcome. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fifth Steam Witness Chat on the Steemit Ramble. I'm Shadows Pub, your host and moderator this morning. The topic of the witnesses is a frequent topic on rambling radio shows and in other forums around the platform. These chats are designed to raise awareness and encourage the community to become engaged in voting for witnesses. I'm going to start off by asking the witnesses to introduce themselves, give a bit of an idea of what they bring to the platform as witnesses, and any comments they would like to make about their role as witnesses in the direction of the platform. After that, members of the community can comment, ask questions, raise concerns. Format is that of a group of people in a room having a conversation. Keep in mind when you're speaking that others are waiting. I am expecting polite and respectful discourse, which will mean I need to moderate very little. I'll remind everyone that witnesses are also part of the community and have an interest in its success, just like anyone else. The witnesses are not the whales. Some of them may be whales, but the two terms should not be considered the same. We're watching the text chat to try to catch questions, but there are no guarantees we'll get them all. People are welcome to come on voice, but please don't talk over top of each other. Muxie says polite, and that is cause for him to log off. I'm going to try catching people as they join and add them to the on-air guests. If you don't see yourself appearing up there and you're a witness, let me know and I'll correct that. So I will start at the top of the list of who we've got there. Mark Rock, how would you like to lead us off? Introduce who you are, let us know what you've been up to.
Awesome, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Mokrock. I'm part of the Exactly community-run witness along with Alex Van Helps, and I kind of head up the admin PR. We also have Rival, who manages our technical side, and yeah, we're pretty much from the Exactly community, so we've got lots of people in there, and we support our own community as well as the Steemit community by implementing a lot of incentives for people, in the community. For example, like, our Post of the Day initiative, it's sort of a curation thing we've started getting off the ground. And yeah, we're trying to give back to the community. That's pretty much us.
All right. Thank you, Mark Rock.
Sure.
And Alex Van, you are the Romanian witness?
One of two, yes. And also, like Mark said, I'm supporting also Exactly. And I've got my own witness with a colleague, but we are supporting different communities on Steemit. Every week we delegate 50 more ESP because we are not generating that much to different community lifelong. Like as long as the witness is there, we will be delegating 50 SP weekly. It's not that much, but it shall help. The last winners were the Steam Poker League. Now it's gonna be Steam Bangladesh, which is far away from Romania, for example.
Okay. That's all you want to tell us today?
Also, no,
okay.
We have our own. We have more servers. We have our own hardware server in a room. Like we can go access it, upgrade, change the hard drives. We can do it all manually. We have pretty decent specs. Maybe it's overkill, would somebody say? And here we are.
I don't know if you could call it overkill when the platform's going to continue to grow and so are the needs.
Most guys are running 32 or 64 gigabit servers from RAM. We have 128 from the start, and we plan to bring a 256 gigabit RAM.
You're ready for growth.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
Deranged Visions.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Deranged Visions. I'm a pretty new witness. Been doing it for about a month. I'm I guess what you would call a community witness. I support different communities on the platform, mainly the photography and film communities. And right now I'm working with the photography community. I run my own photography competitions and pay out to winners with that. I'm working with another curation photo thing right now, and that's in the works. I'm probably going to delegate SP to them, help them grow, because they curate a bunch of different photographers. I'm working to try to get a film curation thing going for the platform, to try to bring more filmmakers and creators to the platform. So that's kind of what I do. Try to build up the community, get more talent here, and support. Oh, another thing I'm doing is I'm partnered with Pollux One. He's doing an initiative where he mentors new Steemians. And so I'm mentoring new people to the platform, teaching them what it would take to try to be successful here on the platform. It's kind of like a one-on-one mentorship that I do to try to help them grow and keep the talent here on the platform to keep us running.
Well, we definitely need creative input and people remaining on the platform, so that's an important activity you're taking part in. And was there anything else you wanted to add?
I do a little bit of work with steam cleaners. I don't have as much time as what the rest of the steam cleaners crew does. But yeah, those people are all awesome. They work hard behind the scenes to keep the platform going. So.
All right. Thank you, Deranged. Ingenuity.
Good morning. Good morning. For those that I dropped out on last night, I apologize. As you saw in the chat, some wicked storms came through Tennessee. I'm not sure if they hit Luke over there in Nashville or not, but it sounds like it touched down pretty hard over there, East Tennessee, Knoxville area, where Amelia and Hobotan's at. So yeah, I'm sorry. The Dark Lord was there. He just wasn't able to reach out like he wanted to. He got stuck in the underworld. But I'm a little different than most witnesses. I mean, I'm what's been coined as a social witness. Me and Sir Cork were talking one day about it, and just it popped into the conversation. Like, yeah, that's what I am. And I have technical knowledge, but for the most part, I'm a novice or a greenhorn when it comes to coding languages and stuff like that. But one thing I am able to do and do quite often is I reach out to people. It doesn't really matter what kind of style they have. You know, I have my own style, and I embody and embrace the fact that everybody is different, and I encourage them to be themselves. Sometimes when people first come to the platform and say, oh, you need to find your niche, and you need to find your niche, but you need to find out who you are first, in my opinion, and then the niche will evolve itself around you. I believe, kind of like Deranged Visions, you know, I'm all about community. Built one myself called the Alliance, and the point behind that particular community is we foster quality content and heavy engagement. And we have some people that are just phenomenal commenters out here on the platform. People, you know, show their support in other ways. We have a classroom set up to help people that we don't feel are quite up to par that come and apply to us. And the next stage behind that is the playground, where we teach people how to engage and be fruitful Steemians. And then once they get to the castle, and that's when they get introduced to the family. And it's, you know, a lot of people will tell you it really is a family setting. And I often get DMs from people that, you know, they've been out of the loop for a little bit, and oh, I miss you, and this, that, and the other. And talked to a couple of them last night that are sad because they've been having to do things over the summer, and they really do feel at home here on Steemit. The main thing behind that vision of the Alliance is one of the things that I saw early on is the retention rate on the platform is pretty poor when it comes right down to it. So the more people that we can make feel at home here and stay here, the easier it'll be to, you know, progress with the Steem blockchain as a whole. And that's why I became a witness, because I love this blockchain, and the scalability is phenomenal in my opinion. And there's so many good things in the future just waiting for us. I'm glad I found it as early as I did.
Yes, we're all early adopters, even though some people that have come on recently think that they're late to the party. They're far from it. It's only just begun.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Engine. And Muxie says the alliance is okay. And Jack Miller, you've joined us.
Yeah, g'day everybody. I actually got something in the oven, so I'll be short. I'll be quick.
Well, you probably all wore out from your ballsy interview.
Oh, you heard it, obviously. Basically, I've got two. Lately, I've been concentrating on two projects that I'm working on, and that's literally overwhelmed my time schedule as far as just about everything else I was working on. I'm still lobbying for among many of the witnesses for a decaying vote, meaning that votes when they're cast for witnesses have a fixed time span on them, even if it be 1 year. But I'm pushing for that still. Not pushing, but lobbying. That's the right word, lobbying. Talking to people, trying to show the reasons why that's the positive thing to do. And, I'm just, that's on the political side. And I use that word political very vaguely. But yeah, I've been concentrating on two projects. So I haven't been around as much, but I have been answering a lot of questions that people have been popping my way on DMs and so on. So I've got into that game of being one of those witnesses that talks to people all day, every day, and not just about things that we need and want, but answering and helping and so on, as well as trying to get my stuff done alongside that. So I'm beginning to appreciate just how much time people have invested in the past on projects that they've started and got going.
Yeah, every project has a time factor to it, some more than others. Jack apparently.
Some are continuous and never end.
Well,
They just
exactly.
keep growing and growing.
Ideas keep coming on, and then we're in trouble. I think Jack just headed for the stove.
The
And,
Kane vote. Sorry.
pardon me?
I wanted to say to Jack that the Kane vote will be very hard to adopt in the top 20 as a consensus, because the top 20 has to have a consensus on that to adopt it.
Yeah,
very,
we can
it
circle
will be
around.
very hard
We
to
can
get it.
circle back to that. Keep that in mind for after all the witnesses have been introduced. And Gmux, who is part of the Noble Witness, but we're going to hear from both of the parts of that witness that are in attendance. So, Muxie, introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and what she's been up to.
Yes, hello. As you say, I'm Gmux, also known as Muxie, or whatever you want to call me. I don't mind. I'm one quarter of Team Noble Witness, along with Ron Decay, Anarcho Andre, and Sir Quark. We got a main server which is 128 gig and a backup which is currently 64, but that'll be upgraded soon. I'm co-creator and co-admin of the Writers Block, and three of the Noble Witness members are part of the block. That is possibly the main focus of our witness. We're more of a community or social witness that supports creatives, mostly in written fiction. And we see it as our job to support the very best written contents on the blockchain.
Thank you, Muxie. And Rhonda, who's also part of Noble Witness.
Yes, I am.
Okay, you could expand on that.
In that the focus of a large focus of the community witness, the writer's block, is okay. Let me start over. Can you come back to me, Shadows? Can you skip me and come back to me? I haven't got my animals settled just yet.
Oh, okay. In that case, we will move to the Real Wolf. And I'm not sure that he's actually introduced himself before, so this will be new for us. Hopefully he's here and on mic. No, we can't.
Refresh the page, refresh the web browser.
If you're in the web browser, that may actually be part of the problem. The app is
At
best.
desktop app. Oh.
So try disconnecting and reconnecting. And try again. We're not seeing you light up yet.
Activate the micro from the settings.
If you go into the settings and in under voice and audio, if you check and make sure that your input is actually showing as the input you're using and not default, that often corrects the problem. Okay. Okay, Rhonda, are you got your animals settled yet?
Not just yet.
Okay. What are you, muzzling them all?
I wish.
So if we've got any, okay, there's none that have arrived that we've missed. And as soon as Real Wolf is able to sort out his audio problems, then we'll get him on, and that'll be good to hear. So, Alex, you had a concern about something that Jack talked about. So raise your concern.
Yes, because
sorry.
I think the top.
Rhonda's ready. Rhonda's ready to go on her introduction. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Sorry about that, guys. Many of you may know I'm the director of a 501c3 animal rescue in one of the worst parts of the U.S. as far as animal welfare is concerned. And it's not always conducive to good radio time. They don't understand schedules, and they don't understand, what happens when someone needs to speak to someone else, other than the fact that seems to be when they want to interrupt everything, the most dramatically. So I think I have the fights broken up and the raccoon out of the refrigerator and all of the things that I need to do to talk with you guys. But Gmux was correct in that nope, the raccoon and the dog are fighting. So Gmux was correct in that Noble Witness is a community witness, and one of our major focuses is the writer's block. But that has gone on to encompass more than just writer's block lately. We are also launching a new front end for the blockchain, thanks to Instructor 2121, and a mainstream publishing house that's based on the blockchain as well. So we'll eventually announce our own SMT, our own coin that will be used heavily in this website and publishing venture. So we've got a lot on the ball. And we believe that, the witness, which is actually all four of us. It's Sir Cork's a member of the Writer's Block too. So we have Sir Cork and Narco Andre, Gmux, and myself as the witness. And we believe that we are really on the trail of something that will change the small press mainstream publishing industry, permanently, and will bring a lot of fresh blood to the blockchain as well.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. How's Real Wolf doing down there? Is he back? No, he's muted. You're not able to get it going, Real Wolf? Okay, nearly done. Okay, Alex, go ahead, and I'll try not to interrupt you this time.
No problem. I was interrupting the first time, so I apologize for that. What Jack Miller said, that decaying vote, I think there is a problem because the top 20 witnesses will be against that. I didn't see consensus on that, and last time we had the discussion, because we addressed the last time the point, Luke Stokes was here and he said, no, that's not gonna work, because what happens if you lose all the votes at the time and nobody can maintain the blockchain? So I think we will have a very strong, how do you call it? People will try to break this idea, especially in the top 20, top 30 witnesses, because there are votes that are casted 1 or 2 years ago that people are no longer active, but some guys that have a lot of vests inside Steam.
Oh, I have no doubt that there will be some self-interest come into play and attempts to hold it back. But this is where chats like this, where the community gets the opportunity to make some inputs and starts to let their feelings be known, that, witnesses like yourself are going to be taking that back to the top 20 and saying, you know what, this is going to be done, and this is what the community wants, and it will put the pressure on. That's my feeling on it anyways. Jack, did you want to respond to that, or are you back at your mic?
Yeah, I'm back. Alex is right. That was, but you'd be surprised, Alex, just when you approach many of the top 20, many of the people who are in the top, I can't say all of them, I still haven't managed to get in contact with all of them, but with many of them, when you start talking with them rationally, and many of them actually do see the good points to it as well. There are fears that some things may happen, but the thing that they sort of like always lean back on is, well, if we introduce this, it will be all done on the one date. I'm like, no, it needs to be introduced from a date when the vote was cast. So, it has to be done in a rational manner, which will be effective. And then they sort of like realize, oh, okay, so you're thinking about the best interests of the blockchain and the community and everything here. And then they realize you're not saying this just because you want to look important or just because you want to push something for the sake of pushing it. And it's not us and them. We're all Steemians. And that's the approach that I've taken. And I was totally surprised. You mentioned Luke Stokes. I've got his word in writing on and recorded where he openly said, if the code is done, he'll support it, if the code is correct.
That's great, because last time in the witness chat, if you scroll on top, you will see that he was against the idea 1 month ago.
No, he may have been against an aspect of it, but Jack is right. He has stated that he would support a decaying vote if the code was submitted to the GitHub and it would work.
That's good, because
test.
Yeah, that's good because there are a lot of. I spoke also to some of them, especially to the ones that got the witness vote from Pumpkin, aka Freedom, because Pumpkin, aka Freedom, is not that active anymore, and he's the largest stakeholders that vote.
Well, Alex, oh, sorry.
He has like a vote from Freedom pushes you directly to. Oh, 1 second. A vote from Freedom pushes you directly to position somewhere on 57, 56. That's why.
Yeah, Alex. A lot of the times, those reactions that you're referring to are when we're talking about 3 months or 4 months or let's say quarterly, just to make it simple. But when we put a figure out yearly, a decaying vote on a yearly level, meaning 365 calendar days, the approach is different. You'll see that they start realize that they alone say, well, that could be acceptable. And many of them will say, well, that's different. That's not what we've been talking about. What most people, when we talk about it, we're thinking, oh, dynamic blockchain, dynamic this, dynamic that, things are changing daily, hourly. Well, when we put that onto a realistic level as far as the voting for witnesses goes, then many of them start changing their tone and they start talking constructively and actually proactively concerning that topic. Like, oh, how can we possibly introduce this without disrupting the safety features that we are concerned about? So you'll be surprised. I personally was surprised. I was very delightfully surprised with many of them, to be honest. At first with all the resistance that I got to that topic, now I'm getting constructive and proactive conversations going on about that topic. So it's all changed by 180 degrees in the last 4 months.
Yeah, things can change. Real Wolf has his audio now, so let's...
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. All right. Yes, I'm the Real Wolf. Nice to meet you. As you maybe have already noticed, I'm not a community witness, so I'm not talking that much normally, at least not over Discord. I'm currently focusing on developing. I've currently 2 big projects I'm working on. One is closed source, which is called Smart Steam, which is a platform where Steemians can either promote their posts or earn Steam or Steam dollar with their Steam power. And on the other hand, I've another big project I'm working on, which is called Witness Essentials, which are pretty much multiple scripts for witnesses. For example, a failover script or Witness Watcher, which is watching for any missed blocks and stuff. I'll just link all of these three links are the latest open source projects I've done. So I've also done something called the Steam Chat Wallet. It was initially called Steam Messenger, but I renamed it because there was another project with the same name. And this is pretty much like a very light form of Vessel, just with an interface which makes it easier to send transfers and to read them, because they are grouped by the sender and the receiver. And the last project, or maybe the first open source project I've worked on, was the sign up for Utopian. You probably all know Utopian, and I've developed the sign up module, and they've improved it a bit, but I've done the basics. And that's about me right now.
Sounds like you've been busy. So you do development more than social?
I do have a social community. I would call it Smart Steam because I'm doing most of the support there. So I'm in contact with people, but I'm currently investing most of my time with the developing side because before I joined Steam about last year in August, I was a developer, but I wasn't that great, and I've learned most, or maybe a lot of the things I know right now through developing. So there were a lot of long nights and days developing.
Well, it's paid off. I'm very glad to have you here.
Thank you. Who are you?
Anarcho Andre.
Yeah, my name is Anarcho Andre. I'm one of the 4 members of Noble Witness. I'm usually the guy who handles the servers and works with our servers directly. So, thank you for Witness Essentials especially.
You're welcome. I think I've received some feedback, but not so much. So I'm very glad that it works. And regarding my servers, I have currently 2 servers, one primary and one backup. But my goal is to get a third one and a seed node. My goal was to get them while they are while the prices are hot, and then the prices dropped, and my motivation dropped as well. But I will need to do it soon. So yeah.
All right. So tell us a little more about the Steam Chat wallet. You mentioned that that's similar to just a Vessel wallet.
Yeah. Like the Vessel wallet is really, really cool because it has a lot of features, and I'm calling it the Steam Chat Wallet Lite wallet because it's still something which, for me, a wallet is pretty much a program or a website like the MyEther wallet for Ethereum, which lets you handle your funds, for example, Ethereum or Steam Dollar, and that is what the Steam Chat wallet is doing. But on top of that, you have an easier time to send messages, because when I started out on Steam, one of my biggest problems was the fact that when I wanted to send transfers, and especially encrypted transfers, I always had to input my Mimo key again, and then I get logged out because I have to enter my the way was I had to log in with my Mimo key, and then I had to write the Mimo and enter the amount for the transfer, and then I had to enter the active key, and then I would get logged out, and then I would have to log in again. So that was one of the main reasons why I thought, okay, why not have a program which saves your keys encrypted, and you are just opening up, like unlock your wallet, and then you can send your transfer.
So is this also a desktop app like the Vessel?
Yes, exactly. It's something which is called an Electron. The framework is called Electron JavaScript, and that is a framework which makes it possible to develop for multiple platforms, for example, Mac, Ubuntu, and Windows, with the same code base. So I had to develop one time for most of the stuff which like Windows and Mac need, and Ubuntu, but only a few things were different, so it works on all of these three.
Very interesting. Thank you, Real Wolf, and good to see you here.
Yes, you're welcome. Nice to see you again.
And we've got a couple other witnesses that have joined us. Anarcho Andre, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your witness? And did we catch him away from the computer?
He did come on a few minutes ago and talk about Noble Witness with us.
Yeah, he may be away from the computer at the moment. He indicated he was just getting up. Yes, I have a mouthy cat in the background. And Coffee, you've joined us. For
Hello.
some reason,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. For some reason, the Anarcho and Coffee are not showing as our on-air guests, even though I've given them the roles. So they are still our guests. Go ahead, Coffee.
I'm here.
Okay, Andre, you can go after
go
Coffee.
Ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Coffee.
Okay, it might get a bit noisy because I'm sat outside in the garden.
That's okay. I
With
got a
the
mouthy
neighbours.
cat in the background.
Okay, so yeah, I suppose hopefully most of you will know me already. Anyone who doesn't, I probably haven't managed to reach your blog post yet, but give me a bit of time, I'll probably get there eventually. I set up my witness, probably my biggest inspiration for that was Nginx, and I kind of wanted to follow his route of being a social witness, as it were. So really giving back to as many of the people on the platform as we could, supporting the smaller and growing accounts, and that sort of thing.
If anybody hasn't come across Coffee, he's probably one of the busiest commenters on posts that I've seen on the platform. He just pops up everywhere. So if that isn't engagement, I don't know what is. Thank you, Coffee. And Andre.
Hello, everybody. I spoke up when the Real Wolf introduced himself. Sorry for being a little bit late. I slept in just a bit. My name is Anarcho Andre. I'm one of the four-part committee witness, Noble Witness. I'm the guy who handles the tech side with setting up the servers and maintaining them. So that's usually where you'll find me. I also do writing on the writer's block as well on my off time, on the few periods of time where I have my daughter and I'm not super busy.
Okay. And he talks a lot too, as you can tell.
Yeah, very talky.
Thank you,
Terrible,
Andre.
really.
So it looks as though the first topic that is kind of caught interest here this morning is the topic of the decaying vote. And Jack, since you brought that up, maybe for the benefit of those who are here in the channel and listening, explain what the decaying vote is.
Well, in short, basically when we cast our witness votes right now, it's for infinity. And this might sound harsh, but many people shall die one day, but their vote shall be valid forever. Many people shall leave the platform and their vote shall be valid forever. So what that leads to in the long run, when we look in the future, it leads to a potential dictatorship. Because guess what? There'll be all these hundreds of thousands of votes, if not millions of votes, one day in less than a decade, which will ensure that the people who are in early have these votes valid for them, and they'll be at the top non-stop. And basically, it turns out to one form of, it's leading towards a dictatorship. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It just means that's what numbers don't lie. So the only logical solution to that potential issue is to put a time limit, a time span on the vote. I.e., for example, when we vote for government in our countries, that might be for a 4 or 5 year span. And then we go vote again. Same thing here should be implemented where there is the time limit on the vote. And now there are issues there which have been brought up, saying that what happens if we implement this new code and everyone's vote is 0 from that day, meaning it starts from that day onwards, which would put millions of SP/MV all decaying, all ending on the same date. Now, that's where the coding has to be done in a way to ensure that that doesn't happen and that people have a decaying vote from the day that they voted or from the date that they voted when that code is put in, so that we don't get a situation where the top 20 all drop out in less than 24 hours. And that's one of the biggest issues that we have there, doing it retroactively, because when the code was being done for this, that wasn't part of the plan. They never saw what could happen in the long run, which is understandable. I mean, we're evolving as we go along, and we see the issues, and everybody sees the issues as we go along, hindsight, so to say. But it shall be done. It has to be done in order to ensure that this whole idea actually succeeds as it was planned, as it's being presented. Otherwise, like I said, we end up having a dictatorship because numbers never lie. Again, the only resistance to this was mainly the fact that what will happen if, let's say, and a good example was Pumpkin/Freedom, when someone like that doesn't come in and do his voting. Well, that won't happen for one simple reason. That person has a lot invested. And if that person knows that he has to reconfirm his votes once a year, that person shall do that. Whether that be within that 365-day span or 180-day span, whatever the times. I'm just saying 1 year because everybody I've spoken to doesn't seem to have any objection to that. So I'm not saying that will be the case, but so far it's so good on that number. But that person can pop in after 250 days and say, oh, I'm online today. Let me just reconfirm my votes. Click, 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 click. And his votes get reset for another 365 days from that day onwards. So that resolves that potential issue. And if somebody's not online at least once a year, well, guess what? That person's inactive. And that person's literally not showing any proof of brain, nor looking after their investment. Does that type of voter really need to be here? Does that type of voter really need to influence who makes decisions if they're not following anything that's going on our blockchain? So there are arguments on both sides, but the logic seems to be there more so towards putting it in because of the long, we're looking into the future here. Right now, it might not make that much of a difference, but when we do look at the numbers, we'll see that there are thousands, tens of thousands of little voters out there, and many of them are no longer on our platform. They're just not active at all. There's no proof of brain there at all. And I'm talking for over 6-month periods right now. And if they do come back, guess what? That person can always click and vote for somebody, and their vote will be valid for another 365 days from that day onwards. That's basically the short version of everything that we've gone through over the last 6 months on those topics, that topic, but many more topics which have been stuck onto it, such as what happens if all the votes get cut off on the same date, and so on and so on. So yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to pop them. Yeah.
Have you thought about starting with the inactive witness first? For example, there's a very big one who's inactive for quite some time now and has stated that he won't come back, and maybe it would be a beginning to create or to introduce decaying votes for inactive witnesses.
Also, yeah.
Well, it has to be across the whole span for everybody. Right now, as the code stands, even a non-active witness, a deactivated witness, is still a witness. Even though they haven't got the server up and running, they do have the votes. With a decaying vote, we would presume that common sense and logic would apply and people wouldn't re-vote for them. And that topic has been brought up on a number of occasions, but that would be a separate little line of code where someone gets deactive for over a certain period of time, i.e. 6 months, for example, that their witness gets totally zilch. All the votes for that witness get down to 0, and that's it, they get reset. That was one of the options which is being discussed, but that's a separate topic to the decaying votes. And yes, they are parallel, one next to each other, one going, but what's more important? They're both important, but we're concentrating on getting the most important topic done, and that will automatically drag this topic along with it, because once this is being coded, guess what? When you're doing this and you're really touching the same bits and pieces of the code, well, let's take care of this as well. That's the approach that many people seem to understand to be the logical approach to those two topics.
What's you mentioned that the time frame that most people don't have a problem with is 1 year. Have any other numbers been floated that have been particularly popular? Like, for example, 6 months. That was the time frame that came to mind to me anytime I was party to these discussions.
I like the 6-month one, option as well.
Problem with the 6-month one was some people, when it was mentioned, still were like iffy. They were iffy. And don't forget, we need to get a consensus of 17 out of the top 20. So that's the goal. We're lobbying, just like people lobby for stuff in government. We're lobbying for something in our government, which is the top 20 witnesses plus one. So the top 21, so to say, 20 plus one of us, which means we need 17 votes for. And to get those 17 votes for, we need to ensure that those 17 people see the positive side to it and all the positive aspects to it and agree to it. I can't say that 180 days is not popular, but the reactions have been mixed. The emotions have been mixed on that number. But no one's argued against 1 year. Nobody. Nobody has said one word against that number, against 365 calendar days, literally.
Yeah, when I first brought it up over there, that was the number that was thrown out and accepted, because there's 3 different kinds of people on the platform. You have your bloggers and vloggers, and then you have your investors and your devs. And sometimes the investors, they'll go somewhere, do something for 6 months, and then they don't come back, which was the big argument over the 6-month thing that I saw. The real investors, myself included, I invest in things and I check on my investments, at least every 3 months, just to see how they're doing. And the key term that they were looking for was engagement on the platform, that being, any kind of transaction that they may have made, because obviously the investors, they're moving their investment around. The devs, they add to the blockchain, they may not necessarily make any transactions at all. And then obviously the people that are adding content to the chain itself. And that was what they were trying to figure out and get everything situated. And that's why a year was proposed, and everybody seems to be accepting it. So once we can get everybody over there and say yes to it, I'm pretty sure it'll happen. Hopefully sooner than later.
So how far along is the coding for this? Like if 17 witnesses said today, yeah, we're good with this, how close is it actually to potentially being implemented?
If the 17 says and the code is done and checked, it will be implemented very fast.
Well, my question was, how far is the code along? Jack?
To be honest, I haven't been up to speed on that topic for like over 30 days now. I know that Ingenuity was working on it, looking at it, looking into it as well, and I'll say it outright, Guilty Parties has been looking into it, and a few other people have been looking into it. There were a few suggestions made, and I won't put them out on the table right now because these are all closed discussions, pretty much closed discussions. If someone else feels comfortable saying what they had in the private DM, that's up to them. But it was being looked into, but in all honesty, the last 20, 30 days, I've been, just like I said, openly and honestly, I've been overwhelmed with my two projects where I've read a little bit on this and read what people have had to say about it, but I haven't actually had that much input into it as much as I used to, like on a daily basis up to that date. Now it's like 2 times a week maybe, or 2 times every 15 days.
Okay. Bug, you've got a fairly lengthy comment in there. Do you want to come on voice and put that forward?
Is my mic working today?
Yes.
Oh, you're
Quiet.
Quiet.
We can hear you.
In 30 seconds, I'll be back.
okay. And Angel from Poets United has joined us. When Bug finishes putting his opinion forward on this, we'll hear from Angel. Katrina's commenting, last month Crimson was reminding us there are investors who don't want to log on, who have stake but aren't involved actively. And she thinks that was the reason for the longer decaying vote. I think a year, if you haven't logged in, I don't know that you're all that interested in having a say.
Just if I can jump in.
Sorry.
Yeah, logging in is the front end. There needs to be actual something happening on the blockchain itself. So when we log in, we're not on the blockchain. We're not doing anything on the blockchain. We're logging into a front end app.
I'm aware of that, but at the same time, when you log in, you're going to do something. You're not just going to log in and sit there.
There are some guys
hope so, yeah.
that, for example, it depends on the country. In Germany, if you park your Steam Power in it, you have to hold it for 1 year. You cannot do anything with it. For example, if you don't want to pay taxes, so park it 1 million Steam, come back after a year, and it's tax free. Depends also on the country. There are a lot of countries to have like tax rule for on a timely basis, like speculation time and everything like that.
That's the same in the United States. It's called the capital gains tax, where we pay less taxes if we keep it over a year. But still, like Ingenuity said, like you still check in on your investments. Doesn't even have to be any activity, like we're saying. You just check in on it.
Which there would need to be some activity.
Got it.
And Anarcho's asking the question, does that apply for wallet-to-wallet transactions, comments, etc.? That would be activity, would it not?
Yes.
Really? I was not aware of that. I mean, in the United States, as was mentioned, when you pull funds out and translate it to fiat money, then yeah, you can get taxed on that, and the tax is less after a period of years. But I didn't realize that in Germany they actually tax you for wallet-to-wallet transactions within the cryptosphere.
Yes.
Am I
back? On every exchange, like you transfer Steam to Bitcoin and then Steam to LTC or something like that, you pay the taxes on the profit gained.
No, I'm not talking about converting to a different currency. I'm talking about like if I upvote a comment, I'm not taxed on that, am I?
No. But if somebody upvotes your comment and you make a gain on it, if you upvote a comment and you make a correction reward, you're taxed on it because you made a gain in the time.
Is my mic working now?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Bug, go ahead.
Well, just pretty basic. I just think it's kind of overkill to have all votes decay. I think if people are active, they're happy with their witness votes, I just think it's just tearing everything out by the roots once a year, when really as I see it, what you're after is diminishing the ability of people who are completely inactive and witnesses who are completely inactive. You want to limit the ability of them to affect the witness votes and the top 20, specifically. And I'm happy with my votes. I'm active. If I was suddenly inactive or I got hit by a bus and I'm not here anymore, I'm not posting for a year. Yeah, absolutely. Decay me out and reset my witness votes. If I make a miraculous recovery out of my coma, I'll come back and click my votes up again.
Well, I don't really see that it's a hardship that in a year's time you just go down and redo all those votes, and it takes all of 10 minutes.
I'm not saying it's a hardship. I'm saying I'm trying to be fairly clear. I think it's unnecessary. I think that if you're targeting people who are inactive, then that's what you should do. You should do pruning, not uprooting.
No, I don't know that it is uprooting. That's like saying I got a government I'm happy with, so I can't be bothered.
Well,
voting.
You asked me what I thought, so.
And I'm kind of guessing, and the coders in the room can answer this, is it more straightforward to do a renewal type voting, or determine who's inactive and then have them revote?
Can I pop in real quick and just because I want to address the distinction between active and inactive witnesses, because
regarding the question, I think it would be easier to remove the vote instead of tell the people to renew the vote. Because, for example, if you have a parameter on Steam as a blockchain which tracks the last transaction, for example, I don't know, a vote or comment or something like this, you can see when the last time was. And if you have a smart contract, for example, when you convert Steam dollar to Steam, that's a smart contract. So you can have a similar smart contract which tracks the time between the last action on the blockchain, and if it's longer than 1 year, then then the vote, then the witness voting power from this user is then the witness vote, then the witness isn't able to receive votes. I would do it like this.
Okay, I think you're seeing decayed vote from the point of view of an inactive witness, where I believe Jack was speaking from the point of view of the person doing the voting.
Yes.
They need to renew their vote.
Yeah, I think both ways are possible. I think his way is also good.
Now,
Okay.
if I may, on that type of option though, you're actually adding more, I'll say, stress to the actual blockchain, because there's something constantly monitoring it. While in fact, just by having a decaying vote as a simple, it has a set time frame. What it comes down to is not so much an obligation. There's no obligation to vote, but to a person's moral, what's the right word? Responsibility, to make sure that they're looking after the best interests of the blockchain if they understand what they're doing when they're voting. So it's a two-way street. You can't just, let's not just expect everything to be handed out on a plate, and then what's going to happen is we're going to need servers and nodes which are like 6 million megabyte one day in the future when that technology is available, 6 billion gigabyte, whatever. It's like we're looking towards the future here. We don't want to strain our current infrastructure with more and more things constantly going over it. So there's the money factor, there's the technology factor, the infrastructure factor. We have to take all all that into account when talking about these topics.
So from a coding aspect on looking at a decaying vote, if you're looking at the parameter of, okay, this person voted a year ago, it's time for them to re-vote, that's more straightforward on the coding aspect than looking at that person voted a year ago, are they active on the platform? Am I correct on that assumption?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's right, yes.
Okay.
100% correct.
Okay. So I see a couple of comments there in the channel. It's Ingen has said it's not the inactive witness votes that really matter because those people are doing one of two things. They're purposely setting up a roadblock or not paying attention enough for their vote to even matter. And Anarcho's answered Amelia by saying that it would require those votes to be cast. While it's possible that decaying votes for just inactive witnesses might encourage those voters to switch their vote, it won't have any effect on the representation of Steam users to active witnesses. So there seems to be a little bit of intermixing between the concept of inactive witnesses and getting their votes off of those inactive witnesses, and just the concept of having a decaying vote that in a year's time you renew your vote. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, but it also, I wanted to go back to ingenuity, is what he says. Ingenuity, because it matters that the guys, now the witness page has, the voting witness page has changed. It was 50 before, now you can vote for 100, but you see the top 100 with the dead witnesses inside. So it's it matters most for the guy on place 101, 102. If you remove the inactive witnesses that've been along for 2 or 3 months, more
Yes,
people
it's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, but people see that when they go to the witness page, they see the ones that aren't inactive, and they won't vote for them.
Yeah, but they don't see
their vote. Hopefully,
they don't see the one on 101, 102, 103. Like
they don't see the real.
Yeah, agreed.
For you are now, I think you're jumped in the top 100, or let me check.
Yeah.
You're in Ingenuity, you're in the top 100, yes?
Yes.
Yes, but if you would have been like on 101 or 102, it would be like, oh, bad for you, because you didn't get the visibility the others get. It was also before when the top 50 were only the top 50. They get massive votes because people just jumped into the witness page because they heard it's important to vote for a witness, and they just cast the votes there because it was easier to push a button than to type in the box and push a button.
Okay, I see what Alex is talking about. I think everybody should be aware that at one point the Steemit website had a list of only the 50 top witnesses, and anyone below the 50 top 50, you had to write their name in. You had to know that they were a witness. You had to put their name in and then vote on them. Because of a GitHub that was opened and a discussion that took place, that has now been expanded to 100. The original request was to have all the active witnesses on the page, and the compromise was 100. So that's not to say that won't yet become all the active witnesses. Progress has been made. Does that make sense to you, Alex? I understand exactly what you're.
Yes.
I understand what you're talking about, but it's kind of a one step at a time thing, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. That's what I wanted to say, because
yeah.
It's a little bit unfair for the new guys. The new guys have a very harsh life to make the name for themselves. And there are guys in the top 100 that never post. You don't see any action from them. You don't see anything, but they are in the top 100. Like we see Black Widow, for example. Nobody knows, and he never posts. He doesn't upvote, and he's one in the top 100.
Now,
no actions.
If I understood what Jack was talking about when he was explaining the concept of the decaying witness, the concept would be that as those witnesses or as those votes decay, people come back in to re-vote and confirm their votes. that somebody like the one you're speaking of would not continue to get those votes because people would then be more aware, be taking a look and going, what is this guy doing? And not even bother voting for him. So he will then drop down. Is that my correct understanding of you, Jack?
Well, that would be a logical presumption.
Mm-hmm.
And I also mentioned that once we get a consensus, we, meaning all of us witnesses, not just the top 20, but all of us, because don't forget, we who are below 50 or below 20 actually, we need to put pressure on the top 20 / on the top 50 to make sure that, oh, sorry, I'm there right now, on us, on everyone who's up or who's somewhere up there, but on the top 20 specifically, we're the ones that need to lobby. We're the ones that need to talk and lobby, not push, not force our ideas or our opinions on them, but to actually argumentatively approach things in a way that where they can see that, yes, this is something that they wish to do. And again, not force or convince them into doing something they don't want to do. They need to be sure that they're doing something which is 100% in the best interest of our blockchain and for the safety of our blockchain. So, and I've come to these words now after 6 months of talking with so many people about this topic. If you recall back, let's say 4 months ago, I was like, oh yeah, we got to do this and that's got to happen. I was trying to push it out there. But after talking with people, you see that there is common sense there is logic. And yes, there is that issue where some people think, but this suits them as it is right now. Well, it does, but it doesn't, because they're Steemians as well. They've got invested funds here as well, and they want that to grow and to become even bigger and better, just like the rest of us. So I don't want anybody to think that all the people who are at the top are against something because it just doesn't suit them in a unfair. It is unfair at the moment. They can see that, but they want a solution that is 100% guaranteed to ensure that everybody benefits from it, and not just some people, or that it possibly puts the blockchain at a freezing situation like we had not long ago, something even worse than that, where the top 20 drop out within 24 hours. You can imagine what that would happen, what would happen in that 24 hours. It would be mayhem. It would be crazy. So they are right. Their fears are right, but it just has to be dealt with in a way that ensures that that doesn't happen. So with these dead witnesses, for example, like I mentioned, that would be something that will go parallel with this, because we're touching the same lines of code in the Steem code. If you see what I'm saying, if we get this approved, that would be approved pretty much easily. Why? Because it's already being worked. It'd be like parallel. Well, we've got this. Can we do this as well now that we're working on this and doing the same job? Why do the same job twice all over again? And many of them sort of like say, yeah, that makes sense.
So Rhonda's made the comment here, and she says, it makes no sense to me that retiring from being a witness is currently impossible. It really does beg the question when you've got somebody like Wakao that, 39 weeks ago made an announcement and has continued to make an announcement that, he's no longer a witness and please unvote him. Why can there not be a mechanism for him to just simply come off of the list because he chooses to? Anybody want to tackle that?
I think part of being a witness, that's something that could be brought up to maybe, some guy at Dracos that does heavy coding on that end to once you decide you don't want to be a witness anymore, perhaps there would be a line of code that says, okay, disable witness, and then that would automatically remove all the witness votes you had for that particular server. That's actually a really good idea.
That's what I've been saying.
It would solve a lot, particularly when somebody is voluntarily retiring. Somebody just, there would still be the situation where somebody goes inactive and you're kind of looking and going, okay, have they quit or are they just hanging out there for a while? But at least those that announce and say, I'm going to no longer be a witness, would be resolved.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same thing, because if somebody is already on the way of going out and says, okay, I don't want to be part anymore of being a Steem witness, then why should we have any more votes? I mean, if we really choose to do so.
Exactly. Which would mean that some people would suddenly look around and go, I got more witness votes than I thought I had. But that's okay, because then they can put them to work instead of them being tied up for nothing. Kitty Girl has a couple of times dropped in the link to Draco's witness page, because while we talk about, and we're more inclined to go to the Steemit page for witnesses, at the same time, that is just one front end, where what Draco's has done is for everybody on any front end, go and have a look, and you'll see who's active and who isn't. And you'll see them all. Muxia said, is there an official requirement for witnesses to interact on the blockchain, though? They're still providing a service by running the server and witnessing the blocks. And the one that comes to mind on that one immediately is Charlie Shrem. I don't think the guy has done anything except run a witness server for the last year and a half. So, yeah, he's still entitled to be a witness, but it does make you wonder why people would even bother voting for him.
He's securing the chain that we so dearly love, correct?
Pardon me?
I said because he's securing the chain that we all so dearly love and are here for, correct?
Well, this is true, but if, say, enough people came along and said, oh, that's an interesting looking name, I'll just give him a witness vote, and he ended up in the top 20, what value would he be?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that I've been encouraging Katrina and a lot of people that are in the room right now is to study witnesses, find out exactly what they are doing. Some of them that just kind of sit there and don't do anything and getting these organic votes, it is frustrating for a lot of us people that are down here hustling and trying to bring more exposure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
On that topic, we did see the actual system working fabulously when the blockchain froze, thanks to one person who caused it to freeze. And the top 20, there was apparently, this is just hearsay, I can't confirm this 100% guaranteed, but from what I was told was the case, was that two of the people they couldn't get in touch with, and they couldn't get in touch with one of those two people for a longer period of time, and they had to get the consensus to change the code. Guess what? Top 20 unvoted him. He hopped out of the top 20. Someone else jumped into the top 20. I think it was Dracos, but don't quote me on that. I think it was Dracos and Cervantes. They were there. Boom. Problem solved. Blockchain working. Back to normal. So the mechanism is working. It's there. And that was proof that this system does work.
Yeah, this is true. And that is really good to see when a situation comes up like that. Rhonda says, I mean, who doesn't know who Charlie Shrem is or the bullet he took for crypto? I know of the name, and I saw him writing on the platform at the beginning, but what bullet did he take for crypto? Rhonda?
I think that was meant as a joke.
Well, he went to prison.
Okay.
You know, he had, hang on, I'll post a link. He went to prison for basically, I mean, I don't know the whole story, and I'm not his biggest fan and won't jump up to defend him or anything like that. I don't know the whole story, but the thing about it is he was, you know, he wasn't doing anything that banks don't do with their ATMs. You can't be responsible for what somebody does with money after it goes through your exchange.
Right.
People from the Silk Road were using his exchange to cash out the money that they were making in their illegal enterprise, and he went down for it.
Was that for the Steem blockchain, or is that something totally different?
Totally different.
Okay. So that would be one of the reasons that some people are still voting for him, even though he's totally inactive? I'm assuming so.
I don't vote for him because I don't vote for him because I don't see him doing enough on Steemit, or not Steemit, but on the Steem blockchain he's a witness, and maybe I will vote for him. I don't know, but I would assume that he does. Yeah, he was a convicted felon because he ran Bid Instant, and the people from Silk Road, who were not required to identify themselves by law, were exchanging money through it, and he went to prison for money laundering.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. What's that phrase about one person's terrorist is another person's hero? He was, what he was doing was just simply keeping the blockchains moving, so to speak. But somebody had to be a fall guy.
Exactly. He was the first man through the door. And we all know that the first man through the door is the one who's going to get shot, right?
Exactly.
He, a bank has these big machines sitting outside where people with bank accounts can go and withdraw money. So if you withdraw your cash and then you go and buy $500 worth of crack cocaine on the street corner with the cash you pull from the ATM, does that mean the bank was complicit in your illegal activity?
Well, exactly.
That would make the bank an accomplice.
Yeah, well, that's when they went after Charlie Shrem. And like I said, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and defend him and say that he was totally innocent. I don't know. But the premise of the federal case against him was horseshit. It was just horseshit, and it's scary when you think about how the feds can get away with that.
Amelia, you've got a hot mic. I'm not sure. It's probably the key you've chosen for push to talk and you're typing. Yeah, there's one thing about crypto. It does seem to have drawn some interesting characters.
True, Andre. Yeah, that's tongue in cheek, but a very good point.
Yeah, very much so. Okay,
pretty much says it all.
I take it that there is people that are working on this decaying vote project and trying to move it forward. So that's something that we're going to be needing to watch as it develops and see where it goes. There's no question about that. So what other questions have we got this month that we want to bounce around? I saw the question thrown out about the why we've only got 10 votes, and I think that got answered. Are you satisfied with that answer, Katrina?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I saw you ask the question. I think that was you that asked why we only have 10 votes.
Oh, yes. That's fine. I didn't realize that the weight of the votes had been changed as well.
Yeah. That was one of the hard forks that we had. So the witnesses they're here today, and by the way, is Angel still here? Angel, are you present with us, or are you just hanging out? Okay, did you want to introduce yourself before you go? Oh, maybe he's heading out. Oh, taxi's waiting. Angel leads a community called the Poets United, and they've recently set up a witness. So he'll have to come around and introduce himself in the next witness. So what other concerns have we got today that we want to talk about? Ideas that we've got. The next hard fork is coming up. We're seeing more communication coming out of Steemit Inc., which has actually been pretty incredible lately. I think that it's at least once a week that we're seeing a post appear on the Steemit blog, which is considerably better than they've been doing for probably the first year and a half. And they certainly seem to be moving steadily towards bringing out the communities and hive mind. Any of the witnesses got some thoughts on how they feel that's heading, good, bad, and different? And we've all of a sudden got very quiet.
Well, I know they implemented app-based and RocksDB on their 19.10 release, which I've been kind of playing around with. I'm not really a dev, as anybody can tell you. I know my way around a server, but that's really about it. However, that being said, it makes replays and memory usage dramatically better. I mean, the replay that normally takes, 6 to 7 hours on 19.5, the last stable release that we got after the whole kerfuffle where the chain froze, it takes me 3 hours flat with 1910. So that's that on that part of it is really impressive.
Okay, so I'm being asked the question, what's up with Dan Larimer coming back to Steemit with his God account created in 2016? That's his choice. It was his account. He's certainly one of the co-founders of this platform. How do you see that as a problem? Holy Branches, you can either come on mic or you can answer that question in text. I don't see you in voice. Okay, What's Up has commented she didn't see anything in it that reminded her of Dan. Okay, so I guess the first question back to you there, Holy Branches, is how do you know it's Dan?
What if it's a Bernie bot?
Well, exactly.
Or resurface a Heisen.
Oh, Jesus.
That's my guess. It looks like a troll account.
Let me check when it's created and what accounts have been created at the same time.
Yeah. And how do we know that Holy Branches is no troll account because they're not in voice?
How do I know if I'm me? What if
exactly.
I'm a bot?
Holy Branches was in voice just a bit ago.
And was he? He needs to come back. That account has been given more charity than Bill Gates, and none of that is an argument for it being Dan.
Yeah, that account's got like 100 Steam.
That's it?
I guess he sold it all for EOS. And he's got everything over there.
I don't really think that that's Dan because his accounts were created in March, and this account was created, I think, in May. So
It was created in April, not in May, and it.
Oh yeah, and then in April.
Yeah, this looks like somebody just playing games.
Who's Holy Shit? I mean, Holy Branches?
Yeah, that's a good question. God's
Yeah.
cousin?
I mean, I'm not telling them to fuck off. I wouldn't say that. That's not nice.
Jesus fuck.
We can just move on.
So, Anarcho, the comment that you brought up, the alt has 300k plus SP delegated it all to Minos. That's nice. And shut up, Artemis. Anarcho, the comment that you brought up in talking about the replay, that also brought to mind the question of, are the changes that Steemit Inc. has made recently, is that improving the concern that the witnesses had in regards to bloat and, the ever-increasing demand for more hard drive space?
Well, as far as bloat goes, there's really not anything you can do because the stuff that's going to be on the blockchain is going to be on the blockchain regardless. However, if I understand it correctly, what it's going to do is use memory more efficiently, so that way the RAM usage is going to go down. Because right now, as it stands, the way that the blockchain is set up and the way that it runs, it utilizes RAM for most of the calls for monitoring the chain, right? So most of your operations are run through RAM. You store the blockchain on your hard drive, but all of the active operations are run through the RAM, which, the bigger the chain gets, the more operations happen at a time, and the more you have to increase your RAM, and that's been the kind of big concern. I remember when I was running a 32 gigabyte server, or I remember when I was running a 16 gigabyte server, and then I had to jump to 32 gigabytes, and then not more than like 3 months later, I had to jump to 64 to give myself enough breathing room to keep my witness server running. It's been holding a kind of steady. It's still been increasing, but it's been increasing at a slower rate. But with the new changes that they want to implement with Hard Fork 20, with RocksDB especially, it's going to reduce the active RAM usage, so that way it's not going to be such a struggle to find a server that's capable of operating the blockchain.
Okay, so you're probably over time going to still have to increase your RAM, but it's going to be a longer stretch of time than previously.
You were cutting out a little bit there, but I think what I got was over time it's still going to increase your system requirements, and yes, I'm certain that's going to be the case, regardless of how they choose to parse it out and where they want to put information, either on the hard disk and then just call it, or have it in RAM so that it's actively being used. But the method that they're switching over to now is going to make it to where RAM is not going to be such a massively important component, and you're not going to need as much of it to keep running the blockchain.
Okay. So that in itself, I guess, is a bit of a positive. It shows that Steemit Inc. has at least heard some of the complaints that have been going on, and are trying to address them. Thank you for being here, Real Wolf.
Yeah, thank you very much for hosting me. Thank you.
So, is there any other things that the witnesses want to bring up where they've got concerns that they don't feel that Steemit Inc. is listening or willing to listen, or maybe with the attempt at doing a little bit better communication from Steemit Inc., that some of that is starting to kind of work its way out? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, just for me personally, I like that Steemit Inc. through their Steemit blog account is being a little bit more proactive in getting information out there. I always joke that when you see a lot of posts coming, it usually means the hard fork is not far away. That may still be the case, but hopefully they keep up with this level of communication. That's been a really big concern for a lot of people, is just that there never is enough communication from Steemit Inc. to literally anyone else. So that's good, and I hope that continues. We'll see whether or not that's the case, but I'm enjoying seeing it.
So I think that they start posting more on the Steemit blog. I think Ned should stop posting on his account, because if you check his comments on his last post, you see the quality of the comments. But I'm happy that Steemit blog is posting regularly on the changes. It can be more because there are more changes happening, or they can ask people because they are just communicating, we are going to do this. It will be also cool if they will start posting what you think about 1, 2, 3 topics. That is what I would also prefer.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Really, for any business to do, is to periodically poll the people that are actually, on the site, to get some feedback from them. So yeah, I agree with you. That's not a bad idea. One of the things I've noticed when they do post. Oh, okay. My connection might be a little wonky. I'm going to drop out and come back in. Okay, let's see if that makes it a little bit clearer. One of the things I have noticed that people like What's Up, and I see What's Up has joined us. Good to see you, What's Up. She makes a habit of encouraging the Steemit blog whenever they post about the fact that it's great to see that increased engagement. I'm going to suggest that more people need to do that, because one of the things that we'd heard some time ago was that one of the reasons the Steemit blog was not publishing on a regular basis was because they really didn't appreciate the negativity that they were getting when they did. So while we're quick to complain sometimes, we also need to put some encouragement there as well. So it certainly wouldn't hurt to do that. So the floor and the mics are open. Anybody that's got any questions and things they want to bring up. And Narco has commented, no one likes interacting with a hostile crowd, and that is certainly there. And What's Up has commented that she did complain about their communication or lack of it, and yes, she did. But you were also quick to turn around and say, good.
Yeah, I mean, I have a fresh, let's say fresh rather than different. I have a fresh appreciation for, the whole issue of Steemit Inc. maybe not posting as much as they should or not keeping everybody informed. We recently had thing on the writer's block where the admin of the writer's block and some of the top leadership in there, we had to make some decisions about moving forward with these projects. And sometimes there's just not enough time. You want to tell everybody, but people don't give you enough time to get the information to them before they start, like Andre said, becoming hostile. So, we kind of ran into that on a smaller scale with the writer's block. And it is exhausting. It's very time consuming and very exhausting. And I think that, unless you have a full-time media point person who's doing that, and yet, you've got this team of devs and whatever, and they're doing, sometimes it's just almost impossible to keep everybody up to the minute on what's going on. It's not an act of being secretive about it. It's just a matter of how many hours in the day are there, and how much time are we going to spend writing about decisions that we've already made. So that, is one thing that it's kind of changed my thinking about it just a little bit. To the point that I'm a little less suspicious of what goes on in the secret Slack, and a little more understanding that sometimes it's just not practical to get all the information out there in 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, I think it's good to see Steemit Inc. coming around and keeping people informed as to happenings here and there. But the question and what I would like to address is something that seems to be an issue, and it's rather annoying for quite a few people because it kind of brings you down. Is a couple months ago there's this flag ring that was popping up here on Steemit, and Guilty Parties, another fellow witness that we have here, made a post about it, and one of the comments on there was to have the ability to flag an account should have X amount of rep, show some sort of engagement on the platform, perhaps X amount of posts, and going out there and commenting to showing that they really are worthy of giving out a flag to people. So if that's something that could be addressed, chime in different opinions and views, I would love that. Yeah, that's just so annoying. Someone coming in with a rep of 25, they have like 100 accounts, and 10 of them are all flagging you. Even with that SP at only 15, it's just annoying.
And I think one of the other things that I also saw that comment, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the other things that has been coming out, and I believe it's an account called Pirate of DTube, and he works on one of those micro transaction sites where you do little transactions, you get paid small amounts over time, and he has reported twice that somebody, and it's somebody in Sri Lanka, has been putting job requests in there for people to get Steemit accounts and then turn them over to him, and that's what they're for, is this type of flagging ring. So it does make for an interesting concept that if you made it so that you can't flag even those tiny flags until you get to a certain reputation, it would remove some of the incentive on those types of actions.
And it wouldn't be just random too, you know what I mean? Because that's what it appears to be to me. Is I mean, there's flags on like 3 and 4 and 5 month old posts that just make no sense. So why the thing is kind of happening, I don't know if it's some sort of experimental project that whoever's doing it has, but it's getting under the feathers of a lot of people.
If I can jump in here, that thing about not flagging until your SP goes up, that's not a bad thing in any way, because the majority of new users won't be going flagging anyway because of the repercussions.
No, they won't. And what you've got here is you've got what is amounted to a ring that's being established that's their purpose, is these random flags, and they're nuisance flags. They're like little gnats more than anything else, but they still upset members of the community.
I've noticed a few of them are voting down at near 0% as well.
Pardon me?
There's a few of them that are the nuisance votes or nuisance flags. There's a lot of them accounts that are still doing that flagging, and their vote VP is down at less than 10%.
Probably because that's all they're doing is the flagging. It just keeps dropping their voting power down.
Well, what is their end game? What are they wanting to accomplish?
Troll.
Just to be trolls. Good Lord. Now that's committed right there.
Well, I mean, you can flag using a bot. It's the same way as using a bot to vote. I mean, that's not hard to do.
No, but it's not profitable, and it's not. I mean, I can't imagine what would tempt someone to invest so much time and energy creating a bot or creating an account or a ring of accounts just to flag. What in the world is the incentive?
They might be using them after lately. If they have like, how was this guy? Nogano, they have 3,000, 4,000 accounts, they start upvoting themselves. They're just building now, they are just flagging everybody that's working with Steam cleaners I've seen. And randomly flagging, because they were, I think somebody traced them to putting scam links on Steam. Like the steamil.com, the one where they reversed the letters. I don't know if you remember, there were some, they were just posting, you have been mentioned in this link, and they posted a link that seems like Steam, but it was not Steam.
Right. Yeah, I caught one of their micro flags this morning, and it was a 0%, downvote. And I'm like, geez, what even is it? But yeah, I guess if they get enough going, they could potentially gain some traction. It just seems nuts.
Can I speak to this for a second, Shadows Pup?
Sure.
It's just an opinion, and I know it's just an opinion, but flags are an important part of curation, and I feel like the culture freaking out every time someone gets flagged is what the real problem is. We can't control how people use their stake, and we should teach newbies that instead of acting like something bad happened to them.
I don't know that in this particular case is so much the concept of teaching them that something bad happened to them. It's taken a look at the fact that people like whoever this person is in Sri Lanka is very deliberately getting accounts just simply for the purpose of coming in and mass flagging. And that's not really a good use of the bandwidth.
Yeah, I agree with that part. I'm not saying that I approve of the behavior. I'm just saying that we should teach people your post is open for 7 days. When it's open, people can upvote, downvote, or ignore it. And when it's closed, that's when you get your money. Nobody's taking anything from you, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you've done something bad if someone flags you. That's all I'm saying.
But look at the positive way. The benefit is soon gone for them, so whoever account they do.
But a lot of these newer people that come in, you know, they're getting flagged, and they themselves only have 25, rep or a 30 rep, and you know, they get flagged immediately. They're not plugged into a community right away, and they don't know where to go. And all of a sudden, you know, none of their posts are visible, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on? I thought this was a cool place to be," and that just deteriorates the membership of the platform, in my opinion.
Is it affecting that much on a 25 rep account? A flag from a 25 rep?
If enough people, or if enough of those accounts flag that one person, and when they're only getting like 1 or 2 cents per post, yeah.
Well, I don't think for the most part that they're focusing on one individual account. They're doing mass flagging, but it's kind of spread out, so any individual vote itself shouldn't be enough to really hurt anybody. It's just the fact that they're doing this type of mass flagging and they're using bandwidth that other people could be using.
And using up delegated SP.
Exactly.
Yes, that's my biggest problem with it is they're using up delegated SP and the bandwidth and just clogging it. Well, not necessarily clogging it up, but it doesn't even need to be there. It's pointless.
Is there a way where when somebody joins Steemit that you can have like a 12-step program to introduce them to the platform?
Yeah, it's called the Alliance.
No, they actually have to be doing quality content by the time they get to the Alliance.
Well, we'll teach them if they have potential. You know. But there's been several that have come in there that, you know, were not up to par, and you know, we taught them about plagiarism and spamming and stuff like that. So it's not just you have to be quality right away.
There is stuff when you join that kind of teaches you all that stuff, but the problem is people have to click on it and read it, and nobody does that. When they join,
very true.
The first thing that they want to do is start posting and thinking that they're going to be rich right away. They forget the whole community aspect, and then they wonder why nobody's voting on their stuff.
And that's part of that's not, I don't think, Steemit's problem itself. The welcome page has been changed to kind of deter from that come and make money by posting thing. And so, which can also be attributed to guilty parties. He's one of my favorite witnesses, just so everybody knows. He does a lot behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. I think he should be at least up there in the top 30.
Just with What's Up's point before, I completely agree with her. The only issue I really ever had with a flag was a pretty strong flag was given to me for something. I didn't even mind the flag necessarily. What bothered me is that the person was flagging me with delegated SP and then DM'd me saying I was not entitled to the rewards on the post when I had purchased BidBot votes with every organic SBD I ever made on the platform. Give me your flag and go away. Fine. You get after me, we're going to have a little trouble.
Nothing like the Crusaders.
Yeah, happened to me too.
And we're always gonna get the Crusaders, unfortunately, that are going to be opposed to something, and they're going to try to throw weight around it to try to fight it.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing that I would say really makes me mental on the platform, and I don't think about it anymore, I haven't for a few months now, is the expectation that everyone should have the same amount of money. There should be wealth distribution, that people who are rich should do stuff for people that are poor. You do that if you want, but the expectation and the demand, oh my God, get a cardboard sign and go at a stoplight and beg for change instead. This is not the place for that.
Rhonda says she changed her whole attitude about bots once she used a couple. They typically cost the user more to deploy than they make it an upvote potential. That depends on how they're used, actually, but it's like any other form of, I tend to treat them as a form of advertising, and sometimes you get return on investment and sometimes you don't.
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily pimping my post, but I kind of laid out what happened to me with Build-A-Whale. It's called BidBots, the broken glass razor-bladed dildo of love. You can read it if you want to.
Yeah, you seem to be in the wrong show there, but no pimping post.
Well, I'm just saying it goes along with what we're saying. It happens maybe once a month on Build a Whale where some whale will crash the vote window, and I put in 60 Steem, and I got a vote of like $51. And he's trying to pat me on the back saying, oh, there, it's going to be okay. You know, it happens once in a while. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm poor as F, and still I accept it. I made the vote, and I'll mitigate that by just using Minnow Booster now because they give me a guaranteed profitable return.
Yes, actually, Ian, it did take this long to start talking about bots, and that's okay.
If you use a bot, as long as you get over a 25% return on that vote, you have not lost a penny. It's just that half of it is going to Steam.
Yeah, you're right on that.
Actually, Agrod made a good observation in Minnow University one evening when he made the comment that the use of bid bots actually does force us to put some of our SBD back into Steam Power, because we spend it in Steam Power to get the vote, and then 50% of it goes into Steam Power. So it's not a bad thing.
I just loved how Marky Mark was trying to convince me that bid bots are not a cash register. I'm like, well, it is a cash register. Yours, not mine.
Yeah, that wasn't his point, though. You know, if you're expecting to get a profit every time you use a bid bot, you need to be very careful how you use them.
Well, you know, it's a little bit difficult for me to accept that when traditionally I've never really lost money on them. So when a big anomaly like that occurs, I kind of notice. And if part of my business model is I'm going to use bots to upvote my posts, and it's been nice that I've been getting a little bit of a return and building my reputation, getting some SP, I'm going to gravitate towards bots that give me that consistent level of service and don't pooch me hard when I ain't looking.
Is advertising. Sometimes you get the return and sometimes you don't.
If I may, I'm so happy you mentioned that, because he was working real hard to equate bid bots to traditional brick and mortar analog marketing services, which they are not. There is no marketing service in the world.
That's a matter of opinion.
Well, hang on. There's no marketing service that I owned a marketing company, so I think I have a little bit of a leg to stand on. There is no marketing company in Ontario where we live that I'm going to go give them $100 and they're going to work for me and they're going to give me $190 back.
As What's Up says, if you don't like it, he's very upfront about what his bots do. It's a chance everybody takes when they use the bots. They may or may not make a return. If you're paying attention to what you're doing, for the most part, you will get a return.
My mic must be cutting out every time I say minnow boosters, because they give me a consistent return every time.
It's a different arrangement. It's not a bot. Not in the sense of a bid bot.
You're right. That's true, because I can actually, what a lot of people don't realize about minnow booster is you can go back to the well over and over and over again. You can buy a $1 vote 25 times if the vote's available.
Okay, and it's What's Up says, pitch for minnow booster is noted.
Pitch for good service. You know, Steam, what's the other one? Steam something or Smart Steam, they're pretty good.
Again, apples and oranges. They're not bid bots.
One is, kind of one isn't, right? They have a standard bid bot, yes.
And the Hive says 4 votes he won't have to pay for.
They have a traditional bid bot, just like the biggies. You just get one big vote, and then they have another service that uses smaller votes, I believe, as well, similar to Minnow Booster.
Yeah, one's a bid bot, and the other's not.
I'm saying they have both, yes. Just like What's Up said, they also have a bid bot, so as I said.
And are you done?
For now.
Good. Anybody else want to tune in as far as bid bots go? A, nay, happy, not happy?
I will, since all the other two got a big pitch. I use 2 very small ones from Yahoo, Shares and Automation. That's my pitch.
Actually, I found it interesting to this point in time in the chat that bid bots and arguing about the value of them seems to have calmed down, that people are not on both sides of a debate on whether they should be here or not. It shows that we're kind of evolving, I think.
I think the biggest confusion is when people, it's a paid vote or promoted vote, like you said, and there's two ways to go about it. You can go with a bid bot or a vote bot that will return your money if the vote's not available. And I think a lot of people confuse the two of them as the same thing.
Yeah, they do, actually. Yidneth has commented that tools to help others, it's the abuse that is the problem. And there are some people, and actually, I'm not even really too sure where you draw the line between effective use of a bid bot and abuse of a bid bot. If you've got the funds to make the bids, are you abusing it or are you using your revenue?
I would say abuse comes when you're using up all the vote. Something like what happened with the bug, where somebody comes in and they just spend all the money and they use all the vote up and they just keep doing continuously. That, I think, is abuse. If there's, say, $1 available, you should only be buying like 20 cents of that and leave some for others. And in a situation like that, it's not abuse.
So Mandel Sage has said, I watched a video about this by Luke Stokes about how, in general, bid bots and the abuse thereof are, in the long term, unhealthy for the Steemit ecosystem. I've chosen not to use them. What's Up says they're being abused in part because not enough people use flags. She says we could easily flag the profits off the big abusers. Injun says, like a gun, some people may abuse one and use it as a terror to rob a bank. Another person will use it to shoot a deer. Can't blame the gun, and please, no shooting the beer.
You can't blame the beer either.
And Katrina's pointed out in response to What's Up that the vote power goes to flags instead of supporting people who are doing good things, and that the flags are important, but it feels like a pointless thing. And there has been an argument put forward about making it so that you don't actually lose voting power when you flag, which I'm not sure is a good thing when you see the way some people can abuse it.
No, that is a horrible thing.
You're gonna be abused.
Maybe 10 up votes, you get 1 down vote.
Nah.
Yeah.
No. That's a terrible idea.
I think that no matter what we do on the platform, we're not going to get rid of abuse in one way or another. If we can mitigate it to a minimum, it's probably the best it can be shot for.
Well said.
That's true.
That's when the whole community needs to come together and, I guess, support each other and do the right thing. I forgot what I was going to say once I started talking.
Eon's made a comment. It's not about the user, it's more about the delegators. Eon, can you come on mic and expand on that? I'm curious what you mean.
And use your Irish accent.
He seems to be muted there. I just need to be on push to talk. I don't know whether he's going to come on or not. I haven't seen him answer. Enjoy, Artemis. Yeah, I'd like to hear that expanded on. I'm curious about it. Okay, one sec. He's working on that. Yeah, Artemis is off to her grandson's birthday today.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it was her birthday last Monday. Andre's commented, it's just like anything else. These can be regulated over time with sufficient social pressure. And Rhonda's zipping off.
I don't think when it comes to abuse, there's people who are always going to try abuse anyway and take advantage of situations. And you're always going to have that. No matter what system you put in place, there is a flaw in it somewhere where somebody can abuse the system.
Yeah, there's even a little pinhole. Somebody's going to try to push it larger. I see Eon is unmuted.
I know that because I'd be one of them.
Uh-huh. And Muxie's off to feed animals and kids. We're going to be soon wrapping up. I just want to hear what Eon has to say. I see you lighting up,
does this
Eon.
work? Cool.
It's
All right.
working.
Okay, yeah, so just to elaborate about it, I think it's more about the concern about how much, okay, so the first thing I want to say is that I think it actually is a more inefficient way to do their job of promotion. I think that there are better ways that a promoted post can be more visible, because in the end, the way they approach the advertising angle is that it's about exposure to trending. But I feel that it doesn't need to rely on the payouts to do that. I think that, for instance, a good way to do that is just to actually just have the user interfaces show promoted posts, because they tried to set up the promoted tab. It didn't work, but it's just because, why would anyone look at the promoted tab? So that's one. But
unless they actually promoted something themselves.
The value,
yeah, I guess so.
The value of the bid bots for me is kind of multifaceted. Like, there is the exposure to the trending, but you'll notice, like with my latest venture, like Steam Pets, I didn't vote it up to the top of trending because I kind of didn't really want to be there. I just kind of wanted to be a bit under the radar. And then one of the big advantages for using bid bots for me heavily in the beginning is I only have one post on Steam Pets, and it started out at 25 rep and it's at 53. My first post only closes in 2 days. So there's a lot of factors. I have more followers now on that account. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it for me when I'm deciding what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so I guess my point is that it is a less efficient tool for promotion than what could be there. But of course, right now, there's no alternative.
Very inefficient.
So Eon, what did you mean when you said it's more about the delegators?
Oh, right. So the other part about that is because it's inefficient and a lot of delegations are just because it's like passive income, right? They can just delegate to it, and it's and what that does instead is that it's just basically about how the reward pool gets allocated, since it's just going to bidbots and not, say, to other initiatives that could potentially be spreading out or adding more value to the platform, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you see your point in the sense that before we could do delegation, the argument was that the ones that held the steam power could get out there and do more voting and that type of work. I think what's happened is that now they can do delegation. They are creating those passive income, and they're doing it mostly through the bots because it's just easier for them, because they're getting a direct income from it. If they delegate to a project, they may or may not get any income from it. So from their point of view, it is an efficiency, is it not?
Oh, it's efficiency for getting returns, that's for sure. Right. Although I would say that it is actually more efficient to self-vote empty posts.
No, but may I step in? It's done. It's a workaround on this. Like if you remove the delegation and remove the promo, you can vote. You can sell your vote outside of the platform, like Smart Steam and Mino Booster. You don't have to be on the platform. You don't have to delegate anything, and you can still sell your vote. You can still buy votes, and nobody knows about them, that they've been sold. Just use the Mino Booster market offline from the chain, and nobody can track that you have bought votes.
I don't know too much. I think you can still use some data analysis to actually figure that out too.
But you don't see it, like it's gonna be covered, or you can do it like on Golos, like everything was sold on Telegram chat. You just go, say I want to promote this post, okay, it's $10, and you're getting the vote from somebody.
Yeah, but I
Hopefully.
mean, that's all true, but I don't think it makes it any less good or bad, right? I think it's just a side issue to the visibility.
I think that when you get right down to it, Bug is correct in the sense that Minnow Booster and Smart Steam are definitely a better return for the customer to use. You know, where the bid bots themselves, the customer's taking their chance on it. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, actually, the one point I wanted to raise about that actually is that, you know how, and I mentioned this in chat, they have bots that set min and max ROI caps. That effectively makes it closer to Smart Steam because it basically puts it in a particular window. Although I guess that window is still pretty large, so it's still probably less efficient anyway.
And I'm also seeing the discussion going on in the chat here. What's Up has pointed out, and this is very true, the black market was happening before the bots. It was not uncommon that people were contacting people with large stakes and purchasing votes from them. So the bid bots brought that out into the open. It's being done directly.
I feel like that, but I feel like that still happens actually. What you were saying. I mean, bid bots just took over because it's just more of it. But I think that the large stakeholder contacting behind the scenes is probably still happening.
It probably is, but it's probably not as widespread as it used to be.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, for instance, you're talking about like trending before versus trending after bid bots, and I would have to agree that it did kind of make it more diverse after that.
Yeah, I think that people are going to debate this probably forever, and I don't think we're going to see bid bots go away. I'm going to be very surprised. And I think eventually it's going to come to a point that there will be some other alternative business transactions available on the block that people will move some of their delegation to.
Oh, actually, I just realized something. Let me pull up a link real quick. I'm curious to see what all of you here think about it.
Okay, we'll take a look at that, and then I'll close this one off. The next witness chat we will set for August the 18th at the same time. Okay, and Arco's just made the comment, ultimately, if bad practices continue, it's going to harm Steam's viability in the long run. While you hate to see Steemit crash and burn, if it does, it does. Which practices are you referring to, Anarco?
What I was talking about with holy branches, as far as people abusing bid bots to amass a massive stake and then using that massive stake in whatever way they choose to use it. I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody who acquires a massive stake utilizing their stake. As long as there's no coercion, like nobody's got a gun pointed at their head. I mean, I can't really complain about it all that much. Like, yeah, I don't agree with some of the things they do, but the ultimate limiter is if these practices are in fact harmful to making Steemit a successful platform or making Steam a viable crypto token or a blockchain, then I mean, it's ultimately going to come out, and the viability of the product is going to go away, and nobody's going to use it, and we're all going to be left penniless. And if that happens, it happens.
Yeah, I kind of think it's going to work itself out in time. We're kind of in the Wild West at this point in time, and that'll come around as we develop our attitudes and approach to things as well as business practices. So I see some people are needing to get going, so I will close the recording off, and this discussion can continue once I've done that. So you've been listening to the Steam Witness Chat hosted by Shadows Pub on the Steemit Ramble Discord and streamed on D Live at Rambling Radio. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, which will be August 18th, it's all about community.